My name's Aaron, welcome back to my channel. How are you? I'm fantastic and I'm doing really well. Today I'm reviewing Tom Ford Rose Prick Eau de Parfum. This is 228 for 50ml. The notes are pepper, turmeric, heart notes are May Rose, Turkish Rose, Bulgarian Rose. Base notes are patchouli and tonka bean. Do we have our bottles of Tom Ford Rose Prick? Are we engaged with our higher self? Let's get testing. So this is saying it's got oak moss in. I'm trying to find IFRA compliant oak moss, and I have IFRA compliant oak moss and non-IFRA compliant oak moss. And the two raw materials that are taken out to make it IFRA compliant remove the feeling of oak moss. It's very, very frustrating because I really want to use oak moss. And the percent you can use oak moss is 0.2% or 0.18%. So I'm doing lots of research on it. I have a lot to say. You all know I love Rose. Rose Absolute is probably one of my most favorite things in the entire planet. I love it very much. It's just beautiful, complex, dark, red, throbbing, full throttle sexuality. It is not how people think of rose, which generally the accord for rose is phenyl ethyl alcohol, citronellal, hexylcinnamate, linalool, geraniol. That's how to make a sort of an accord with it. Hope you took that down. That's what people associate that sort of phenyl ethyl alcohol sort of smell, citronella, and it is not. Rose is so much more complex. So I get really annoyed because if people were to smell this, if it does contain or doesn't contain rose, let's say it does contain rose, then you would love it. But if it doesn't contain rose and you were to smell it, you'd be full of rose. And that's sort of why I get like really frustrated, because I love using rose. And actually, women love heavy floral absolutes on men. There's a long research and thought process into what women like, and what women like on men is heavy florals. If I wear my oxytocin, women generally sort of comment on it, so I never wear oxytocin. And men love fresh ozonic smells on themselves and other men. And it really is very, very different. You find with heavy rose absolutes and all that sort of stuff, and tuberose and jasmine, that women really respond to it. I don't know quite why. I should do some research on it really. Maybe a PhD in sort of women and fragrance molecules. Anyhow. This smells of Tom Ford. Tom Ford has a way to build fragrances, and this smells of Tom Ford. One thing I'm going to say as well is they're saying all those rose compounds in it. I very much doubt it, in my opinion, because of the allergens. And rose obviously has eugenol, linalool, citronellal. They shouldn't have isoeugenol in. But when you're combining all of that, it can push the allergens quite high, and it means it would have to go in quite a low amount. And again, I don't know why you particularly add both to it, because Turkish rose is a very dominating, and Rose centiflora is softer and greener, so why you'd want both in is very perplexing to me. I've tried it and one just is completely dominating and loud. So this is a classic way to build a rose accord, that's all I can say to you. It's a Hedio Nicely Super white musks. It has fruit qualities to it. It has musk, give it elevation. It has vanilla and ethyl, vanilla and citronella, all that sort of stuff. It is a way to build a classic, up-to-date rose-based fragrance. I would imagine that the name would be very off-putting, and the problem is with choosing names in fragrance, you've got to really understand your demographic, and I think that a lot of people might be embarrassed. Are you going to love it or you're not going to like it? And I think that Rose Prick and f***ing fabulous and all of this is to put a fragrance which is quite nice and put a name on and charge more, because it has that shock quality. I mean, it's very underwhelming. As I said, I'm going to be particularly hard on Oud, Rose, Jasmine, because they are my most favourite fragrances that you can get. It's sort of alright, but I mean, goodness me, for that amount of money. Especially for a rose. On to my final thoughts. This is okay. I just want more from Tom Ford. I really want more from a rose-based fragrance. I think this could have been called something different and charged less and done more. For that sort of price, it's over £200 again. It's just like, yeah. I mean, it's very nice. They're using heliotrope and vanilla and some sort of I don't really know what to say actually. I feel a bit like a bit meh about it. It's got patchouli and lemon and stuff. And it's alright. The first 4 marks are for the technical ability, whether it complies to the box, all that stuff. Yes, this absolutely does, so it gets a 4 out of 4. The next 2 marks are the price. This is so overpriced. I don't know what's going on with Estee Lauder, but this seems to be, as I said to you, choosing a pearl-clutching name to trigger people and having a nice formulation and chucking the price up. This should be 165, and I don't know when the private blend went up £60 or why it went up £60, but it seems to be a bit of a shame. This should be 165. Over £200. I want some. I want something unique and different about it, and some absolutes in there that are just mind-blowing and gorgeous and just gorgeousness. And that's what's putting me off, is the price is so high for what it is, and especially with Rose. But this is really good at chords and all the rest of it. Anyway, the last 4 marks, whether I like it, it's very disappointing, very lackluster. I mean, I think you're going to get good performance out of it. I think you're going to get really good projection out of it. I think you're going to get really good longevity, all that sort of stuff. But for £228, I wanted to do more, and it's not giving me that. So in this aspect, I'm going to mark it as 7 out of 10, because I think technically it's really fantastic. I think the Perfume did an excellent job. Personally, if I got asked to create a rose-based fragrance without using rose, in my opinion, I'd be devastated. Or if I had to use rose at trace amounts and then build around it, I'd be devastated. And I've still yet to bring up my rose-based fragrance that I'm working on currently, but when I do, it will be sublime and fantastic. This is my fear with rose-based fragrances, that men will smell it and be put off, because this smells very feminine, and in my opinion, it smells sort of quite feminine, quite floral, and that to me is a bit of a shame. How would I improve on this? I mean, I would amp up the Rose Absolute. I would put in some really exciting raw materials. There's so many exciting absolutes and naturals out there to put in. So you could take your template of what people like, then add in some interesting stuff. Vanilla Absolute. I'm in love with Vanilla Absolute, actually. I'd make this boozy. Actually, I would have turned this into a full-on gourmand. I would have dipped the whole f***ing lot in rum, but that is me. So if you love that review, thumbs up and subscribe for more fascinating, interesting content. Lots of moving hands, lots of fragrance reviews. I hope you're staying safe and well, and I'll see you soon.